let me tell you why this 911 is the Porsche generation to get. So in this video, we're going to talk about all the positives of this particular model. Woo! I'm loving this. This is fantastic. Now we've got some twisties and some bendies here. This should be a good amount of fun in a Porsche 911 2000. 1999 Porsche 911 was the first generation, so 99 until 2004, or including 2004 models, are the first generation of water-cooled Porsches. Now that doesn't mean it's actual water, because that could stress people out. It means it's liquid cooled off radiator fluid. So if you've got these things idling in traffic, they're not going to overheat. So I'm going to tell you why this is actually the best version of Porsche that you can get. A lot of it comes down to price. Had we got a 2005, we would have paid at least twice as much for this vehicle, actually about 2.5 times as much. And had we got a 2009 model, to avoid that whole big scare of the IMS bearing failing and costing $15,000 to $20,000 to rebuild the engine, which is in the back, of course, that scares a lot of people. So a lot of people will shop for a 2009, and that's why the values of 2009 and newer Porsches, just an 09, 9 years newer than this one that I bought, would have paid more than 3 times as much. So this was $20,000. We would have paid this vehicle a whopping $75,000 to get a 2009, and an 05, which still has the IMS bearing issue, would have been about $45,000. So huge savings on this model. Now, of course, you either love them or you hate them, or you're indifferent. You've got these lights, which some people have called the runny egg lights. Well, it doesn't have the yellow at the bottom, and this vehicle we've inspected mechanically, so we've gone through it. Now, it had a lot of positive points: new tires, pretty new tires, new brakes, but we had to check things out. So if you come with me, we did, of course, anyone can do the visual check for the aesthetics. We've got a seat here that's torn, and well, that is part of the reason why we got this at a better price. But we can get that fixed. It's minor. This vehicle needs a good wash and a compound, also minor. Now, there is damage on the wheels, but most models that you're gonna find are gonna have damage on the wheels, and it wasn't up for paying an extra $10,000 to have perfectly compounded vehicle, which I can do myself, and perfect wheels. Now, not everything's perfect. Almost lost this piece on the highway, which you'll see in the video, but a lot of things that we're checking for, we started up. So let's start it up here. Surprising, 2000 already has memory seats. Now, a lot of people have given these vehicles a lot of heck because the interiors. But guess what? An earlier version Porsche, let's say a 95, which would have cost 4 times the price of this vehicle, about 80,000 Canadian and up, well, oddly, those interiors are not any better. So it's really, I guess, Porsche snobs that kind of poo-poo on this model, but we stick to it around for the video. We're gonna put the pedal to the metal on this, and we enjoy it quite a bit. So we tested, checked for on startup, checked the clutch, took it out for a test drive, made sure it didn't overheat. Now, of course, we can let this vehicle run without it overheating. All right, so you're gonna wanna take your vehicle out for a test drive and make sure it's not overheating. Once you have driven it around for about 20 minutes, check out, does the engine fan turn on back here? If not, it's probably gonna be running too hot, and you wanna check that out. Check for any metallic noises, clanging noises. You don't want any banging or mechanic noises. Check your oil, make sure it's the right color. It's got kind of a creamy look to it. It's got radiator fluid mixing in with it, and that can be catastrophic. I do like in the front here, we can hear the fan running well. So those coolers can hear the fan. Connect this to a scan tool, an engine scan tool. Check out all the codes, and the Porsche 911s will tell you if they've been overheated, over revved. Check the color of the exhaust. See here, exhaust absolutely clear. If it was blue, you got issues with the pistons. If it was black, then you're burning oil. Gray, still not a fan of. You want to see clear exhaust. So here are some important inspection points. Then when you take it out for the test drive, of course, check to make sure, feel the steering wheel. Take the vehicle left and right. And if there's loose in the steering wheel, you want to be checking out those tie rods. Check the clutch out. Take it for a drive. You shouldn't, when you push in the clutch, you should have an engagement zone that's not completely to the floor. Should be actually more towards about a quarter to halfway out. Because, well, changing the clutch on one of these would be expensive. And generally expensive on all vehicles, but especially if it's a Porsche. Now, I've made sure that this needle never goes beyond that point, so that seems to be its standard running range, but you want to go check online to see what it should be running at, because I'll let you know, maybe I do have a fan for one of the intercoolers up front that needs to be changed, as they say. Really, that's cooled by radiator fluid, but it'll cool itself off with that liquid. Now, we went and fully checked out the trunk. You want to check your oil color. You want to see if there's little metal filings in the oil, ideally. So ideally you want to get these inspected, but we've had over 60 vehicles, and if we had them all inspected, we'd have spent a lot of money at about $300 in inspection. And in inspections, they're going to test the steering, the tie rods, the whole direction system. And we can do that with a road test, which is often what the mechanics do. Now, it is the hottest day we've had this summer, so it is a perfect day for testing to see if this vehicle overheats and if it's a buy or not. So stick around. We're going to explain to you why we bought this vehicle, whether we're going to buy this vehicle, if it's a yay or a nay, does it pass or does it fail. But we checked out, of course, the exhaust out in the back. Check the filters. Black, the exhaust is black, it's burning oil. If it's blue, you've got a piston ring issue. There's no weird sounds, there's no weird vibrations, there's no weird smells, there's no oil stains underneath the vehicle. And that famous, everyone's afraid of the IMS bearing failing on these vehicles, and that's why they're so cost effective, so much less than all of the other Porsches. But guess what? Often when you do an oil change, you're going to see that the IMS is starting to fail, because you're going to get little metal flakes in the oil filter. So you want to actually open up your oil filter. Easy to do, because it almost looks like an air filter, but it's got a little casing, and it's a little paper filter, and you'll see if there's metal flakes in there. And you're also going to want to check out the actual IMS seal area. It's starting to leak. Your IMS bearing is on the way to failure, and you want to change it before it fails, because if it fails, you're going to spend $15,000 to $20,000 rebuilding this engine. So we check that all out, and I think we got a great deal on this, because aesthetically, this isn't a winner. We can fix that and really increase the value of this vehicle. Little things like this flying off on the highway, almost lost it, but we still have it. We stopped and pulled over in time. So stick around with us as we cover this wonderful Porsche 911. We're going to talk about the handling, not just what we look for when we're shopping, but the overall reason why this vehicle interests us. Thank you so much. Stay tuned, hit the thumbs up, subscribe, hit the bell notification to help the channel out, and also to make sure you don't miss out. So we're going to do a lot of videos on this thing, and you're going to enjoy the ride.